When it comes to fully electrified vehicles, Audi is no stranger to playing in this space. The company has been doing so with the original e-tron nomenclature introduced to the world back in 2012. Now here in America, we first got our taste of an all-electric Audi when the company introduced the e-tron SUV to the States all the way back in 2018. It was a decent first effort, but as you guys know, the electric vehicle space continues to move forward, so Audi is preparing to launch a brand new generation of electric vehicles. Of course, first starting off with this model. This is the first ever 2025 Audi Q6 e-tron. It's built off of the company's brand new PPE architecture, a platform that also underpins the Porsche Macan EV. And what that essentially means is all models come with a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, delivering up to 321 miles of range and also running off of the much quicker charging 800 volt architecture. So as you can see this week, we are testing out the Q6 e-tron Quattro in this fully loaded prestige trim. And the big question I want to answer, for those of you who are looking for a luxury SUV that just happens to be electric, how does the brand new 2025 Q6 e-tron stack up? Stay tuned to find out. All right, guys, so just like the brand new Q6 e-tron, welcome to the inside of the brand new Redline garage. Eventually, this area is going to become a complete filming studio. I literally just moved into my new house about a month ago, so I apologize for the mess and the fact that it's not really painted in here. That's going to change, of course, in the next few months. But before we start talking about the styling, of course, for this brand new Q6 e-tron, I thought I'd pop the hood because that's always the million-dollar question with an EV is, does it have a frunk? And because this vehicle is built off of their new PPE architecture, it thankfully does have a pretty sizable front storage area. Now underneath this hood, you're gonna find a slightly odd shaped front storage area because as you can see, you can't really use this portion here to put stuff, but there is a rather deep storage well here which has a separate partition. I believe you can take this out to create one larger storage area. Audi says it measures around 2 cubic feet, which is pretty usable. Now, since we're underneath here, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain specs. Now, like I mentioned, this is built off of their new premium platform electric architecture. It's a brand new 800 volt architecture, and all Q6 e-trons will launch with a 100 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack. Around 94.4 of that is usable. And here in America, you can take your pick between either single motor rear wheel drive or the company's dual motor Quattro all wheel drive system. There's also an SQ6 e-tron, which comes standard with all wheel drive and has more power than the Quattro e-tron Q6 model. That's going to be saved for a separate review. Now, if you guys go for the single motor, you have around 322 horsepower, 356 when you have it in launch control. This model here that we're showing you is the dual motor version. So you have 422 nominal horsepower, around 188 comes from the front electric motor, 375 comes from the rear electric motor. When you have it in boost mode or launch control, Audi says the max power increases to 456. So that's a pretty healthy number. The company isn't quick to talk about a torque figure. However, if you look at the torque figures of the front electric motor and the rear electric motor, which is around 203 and 479, theoretically you could have over 630 pound-feet of torque, but Audi technically claims you can't actually add the two torque figures together. This vehicle, like I said, shares a platform with the Porsche Macan EV, and this power figure kind of splits the difference between a Macan 4 electric and a Macan 4S electric. The SQ6 e-tron has roughly 509 horsepower in launch control, so around 50-ish more horsepower than this model. Now, Audi claims 0 to 60 happens in around 4.9 seconds. All that power goes out through 4 wheels, of course, with the dual motor all-wheel drive, through a 1-speed reduction gear transmission. And this vehicle has a top speed of around 130 miles an hour. In terms of the range, this model here with the 20-inch wheels drops the range a little bit from 307 to 295. That's still a pretty good amount of range considering the competitive set that it plays in. Towing capacity, it's an SUV, is around 4,400 pounds. And as this car sits, it is a compact to mid-size sized SUV, but this model here weighs in at around 5,300 pounds. So it is pretty heavy, but not the heaviest that you're gonna find in this segment. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the exterior styling. Now, as you can see, the Q6 e-tron kind of shows off Audi's newest design language here, but it's also instantly recognizable as an Audi. I have to admit though, I'm not a fan of Audi adopting the split headlight arrangement. This is a very trendy design that I just don't know if it works on an Audi. It kind of loses a little bit of the Audi identity. Now that my particular test car is the fully loaded Prestige trim, it's painted in this color called Plasma Blue Metallic. It's kind of like a grayish blue color. It's an extra, I think, 590 bucks. All Q6 e-trons come standard with the company's full LED headlights. This is the premium LED that you get with the Prestige package. So these LEDs are an OLED design. You can see they include an LED turn signal, which is a sequential style. You can actually change the light signature of those LEDs. Audi offers a choice between 8 different distinctions of the design. I believe this is design number 6, but it does create a really interesting ambiance, really premium light signature. You can see the headlights are actually hidden in this lower portion of the front bumper. They are LED low and high beams, as you can see, but again, I don't love the design of them. You also have, again, some closed off grille openings there. The Audi single frame grille is closed off. It has kind of a 3-dimensional look to it. It also has the new Audi logo here, which kind of has like a white ring outline to it. It looks a little bit more 3-dimensional. Down here you can find some actual functional openings. This also has Audi's latest driver assistance tech. The front camera system with parking sensors is included on this higher trim. But overall, as you can see, Audi definitely tried to favor, I believe, aerodynamics. Although this vehicle's drag coefficient is 0.33, which is kind of the same as the Q5. Overall, let me know in the comment section below what you think of the design. I think it's kind of growing on me, but I really want to see the Sportback version of this car because there are certain angles of the new Q6 where it just kind of looks like a blob to me. It kind of reminds me of something like a Ford Edge. Now, moving around the side profile, you can see the Q6 is interesting because Audi at one point said that all their electric vehicles would essentially have an even number nomenclature, although they have technically backpedaled from that and said that they are actually scrapping that. Instead, if you have an electric vehicle, it'll say e-tron, an internal combustion vehicle will say TFSI. So this vehicle, being a Q6, is a mid-size car with a 113.7-inch long wheelbase, roughly 3 inches longer than the outgoing Q5, and an overall length of 187.8. This is around 3 inches longer than a Q5. Porsche's Macan EV is roughly about half an inch longer, but the Audi is taller because this vehicle sits higher with around 8.3 inches of ground clearance. Now, looking at the wheels, my test car has an optional 20-inch wheel, which kind of has like a two-tone bicolor look to it with a directional pattern. You can see the brakes measure 13.7 inches all around. Unlike the Q4 e-tron, this vehicle does come with rear disc brakes, and the Prestige model has an adaptive air suspension. So at the standard height, it has roughly 8.3 inches of ground clearance. This is the off-road height that I have it in, which I believe jacks it up by around 1/2 inch. You can see tires. These are a Bridgestone Alenza run flat tire. You actually have a staggered setup. So you have a 255 by 50 in the front, R20s. They're an even fatter 285s in the rear. So again, kind of gives it a nice stance. I also appreciate how Audi didn't go with any kind of some like cheap cladding. It's all got that full paint finish, which I think gives it a more premium look to it. The side mirrors, you can see, are power folding. They have integrated turn signals, which is nice. And of course, cameras mounted there. You can see lots of black trim along the window moldings, which is nice. There's also a flat black aerodynamic style roof rail, and you can see this trim also comes standard with a panoramic sunroof that actually opens up to vent air. That's something you typically don't find on a lot of competitors, so I love how Audi has definitely included that feature, which I think is going to be important for a lot of people. Now, like other Audi electric models, there's actually 2 charge port doors, and the charge port door is motorized. So here on the driver's side, you're gonna find basically the J1772 plug with the CCS combo. Now on the other side, it also has a motorized door, which only has the J1772 plug. I'm assuming Audi will eventually adopt the NAC plug, the one that Tesla uses, that every other brand's gonna go to. But like I said, this vehicle runs on the 800-volt architecture, which means this vehicle can charge at up to 270 kilowatts. On a level 3 fast charger, you can go from 10 to 80% in around 21 minutes. So again, a little bit faster charging times, or a lot faster versus the Q4 e-tron, which is built off of the 400-volt architecture. It has a 9.6 kilowatt onboard charger. So on a level 2, like what I have here on my home charger, it takes roughly 14 hours to charge this vehicle from empty to full, which is not the quickest time, but it's also not a horrible time. Now again, that power opening and closing door is definitely a nice touch. gives it, again, a little bit more of a premium look. Now, looking at the rear of the vehicle, this is where I see a little bit more vanilla in the design, but again, Audi says it's very elegant. It certainly reminds you of other electric SUVs with the full-length LED light bar that goes across the back of the vehicle. It has the new Audi rings here, which have that three-dimensional look. You can see the sequential turn signals continue back here. There's minimal badging. It basically just says Q6 at the bottom corner there. And then, of course, the rear bumper looks a little bit plain. The Sportback model, or the SQ6, will have a more aggressive rear diffuser, which I really am looking forward to seeing in person. The rear spoiler is pretty subtle. As you can see, the wiper, it just sits on the back of the rear window. And then in terms of the cargo area, a power liftgate, which is hands-free, is also included. And Audi's Q6 actually does offer a pretty decent amount of cargo space, around 30 cubic feet with the second row seats up. There's no third row in this vehicle. There is some nice storage off to either side of the cargo area. There's also a nice little cargo storage area underneath here. There's the mobile charger that's included with the vehicle. It actually does have the ability to swap into a level 2 as opposed to just only being a level 1, which is a nice touch. If you want to fold down the seats back here, Audi makes it easy. You just pull on this little lever back here. For both sides. You can even raise and lower the air suspension from back here. The one thing I am noticing, however, there is a noticeable slope in the rear seat when it folds down. So when you fold down everything, Audi says you get a maximum of 60 cubic feet of storage space. That's roughly 6 more cubic feet versus what you get in the outgoing Q5. So it is definitely usable. Keep in mind, again, the Sportback model should be reducing that cargo space by roughly 5 to 6 cubic feet. But overall, proportion-wise, I think Audi has done a good job with giving us the practicality that you expect in a vehicle of this size. So while I'm not technically the biggest fan of the exterior design for the new Q6 e-tron, let's go ahead and move into the interior, because this is where Audi is showcasing their brand new interior technology features. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see all Q6 e-trons come standard with the company's Intelligent Access key. It is actually a new fob, which is nice. It's kind of similar to their current fob, but just a slightly different shape to it. I don't love how the key itself feels more plasticky. The older key fobs had some more metal-like accents to it, but it still is a nice size. It has your usual buttons here for lock, unlock, power open for the tailgate, of course, and then a panic function on the back. I believe Audi also gives you access to use your phone as a key if you're an owner of the vehicle. I don't have access to that, but as you can see, it certainly is a nice looking key. Now, as you approach the vehicle, unlike a lot of the competitors which have these pop-out door handles, Audi keeps it simple. This is a traditional pull style handle. If you touch this little area here, the vehicle will lock with the trademark Audi chirp that it makes. If you want to unlock the door, you just touch the back of the door handle, and that will unlock the door for you. Now, as I open the door to reveal the interior, you can tell my test car has a great color combination. It has that plasma blue exterior with the pearl beige interior. This is the upgraded premium Nappa leather interior with the warm weather package, which means it includes heat and ventilation. The ventilated seats have always been a little finicky for Audis. Audi typically has only offered it part of the warm weather package, and they've always limited to a black interior. Nice to see that Audi has now expanded that to a beige interior or light gray interior. They call it pearl beige, but it looks more gray to me. And you can also, I believe, get a brown interior in addition to a black interior. These seats also are fully redesigned. They adjust in 14 different ways. And they even include an adjustable thigh extender over there, of course. The driver's side also gets a 2-person memory. The memory function looks like it should have been here, but it's actually located here via touch-sensitive button on the door panels. As you can see, the upper portion here has a somewhat rubberized finish. In fact, it is soft touch, but barely. I actually think this is a little bit of a cheap material considering the price point. I would have preferred they stitch this with leather like this lower portion over here. My test car also has the optional 20-speaker 850-watt Bang & Olufsen audio system. It sounds really good, although I did notice not quite as bass heavy as the previous Bang & Olufsen systems I've tried in previous Audis before. Over on this area here, you can see beautiful leather stitching, which is nice. The window controls have that high quality, satisfying, clicky feel that Audis are known for. I don't love the scratchy plastic over here, and at least I appreciate how this is not piano black, but it doesn't look quite as nice as previous Audis. Down here, it is all a harder touch plastic. So there is a little bit of cheapening that I'm seeing here, at least on the door panels. This right here is also just a silver painted plastic. There was a time where Audi used to use aluminum for their door handles. So again, a little bit of a downgrade there. But looking at the rest of this cabin, you can see it certainly looks a lot more contemporary. It has a modern look and feel to it with a big improvement in the screens. As I step inside, This vehicle has a pretty easy step-in height thanks to that 8.3 inches of ground clearance. And then when I shut the door has a pretty solid sounding thunk. Now, as you can see, once I get inside, the vehicle actually turns on because I have the key on me. My butt is sitting in the seat, so you don't even have to hit the start-stop button. Even though there is a start-stop button down here, the system automatically turns the vehicle on when you sit in the car because it knows that's where you're trying to go. When you want to actually turn the car on, you can put your foot on the brake, but essentially the steering wheel won't even turn until I put it into gear. That's when the steering wheel actually activates, and that's where it allows you to drive. It'll just say on or ready in the instrument panel to let you know that it's ready to go. Now, looking at the rest of this cabin, you can see this is definitely a big upgrade versus what we've seen in other Audi products. Now, this is also showcasing their new panoramic style virtual cockpit display with their new MMI interface. My test car also has their very new augmented reality heads-up display. Audi actually says that reality, or that AG head-up display, will actually project up to 88 inches into the actual windshield, which is incredible. All versions of the Q6 will essentially come with their new panoramic virtual cockpit. So you have an 11.9-inch display here for the instrument panel, and you also have a 14.5-inch display here for the center stack. Now, obviously, for the center stack here, it is a touchscreen. It uses their new MMI interface, which includes wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. It's built off of an Android system, which is kind of surprising to see that they are using Android, but it is nice how it is still including wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The screen quality and the graphics and resolution certainly look impressive. I also love the ambient lighting in here. There's a lot of intricate ambient lighting where you can customize basically the light color at the top, to the lines down here, to the footwell color, to the under, dash vents lighting as well. So that all makes for a really cool ambiance. The steering wheel, as you can see, it's a brand new design with the new Audi logos. It has, of course, paddles on the wheel to control the regen braking, because this vehicle does offer a one-pedal drive now. The steering wheel is also a power tilt and telescoping arrangement. I don't love the shape and the size of the steering wheel. I think it's too big. Keep in mind the SQ6 will include a flat bottom wheel with a I believe a 3-spoke design. This to me just looks a little bit more old man-ish, but again, you have the typical high quality switchgear here. You can also slightly customize this gauge display, although compared to Audi's previous virtual cockpit display, this doesn't really change in the manner that it used to. I'm actually a little disappointed because Audi's virtual cockpit used to allow you to basically interchange everything and customize the screens. This is basically allowing you to you can adjust this screen here by kind of cycling through this up and down, and then you can also adjust this here where you can put like some GPS and phone information. Like there's the GPS there, I can go to the view, but that's really it. It just kind of shows you like I guess a less intrusive view, or just like a weird minimalist view. So I'm not really liking how this looks here. And then in the center there, you're going to have, of course, their driver assistance. If you put it into drive, you can see it basically just shows you their driver assistance features there. But this is kind of a downgrade for me. It'll take a little bit of getting used to, but when you come back to this screen over here, I don't have my phone connected via CarPlay because I'm using it to film. But as you can see, it has your usual things for this XM radio. It has GPS built in. It has your phone information where you can connect to it, obviously. And then the interface here, as you can see, is a lot more contemporary in the fact that Audi got rid of a lot of actual traditional buttons. So you can see your heated and cooled seat control is now located in the screen over here. The heat and cooling function works really well. Your climate function, you can basically access it here, where you can adjust the air vents, you can adjust the temperature, the air speed, of course. You can go to like a comfort assist here. You can go to your rear auxiliary air conditioning, or your auxiliary air conditioning in general. When you leave the vehicle, it actually will function and leave the climate control system on. I appreciate how the vents are actually manually adjustable. They're not a power operated vent to control that, so that's really nice. You can see down here you have two USB-C charging ports. Your wireless phone charging pad is located right here, along with a nice big storage area. There's a lot of piano black plastic here, and this is where I am noticing this is already kind of showing scratches here. So I don't love how this area here is completely piano black. Audi uses this kind of movable toggle to put the transmission into gear. So you can see park is accessed by pushing the P button here. You push down to go into drive, push again to go into the engine regen braking, push it up to go into reverse. You can see there's your full 360 camera with a top-down view. It has cross-traffic braking. It has trajectory, obviously. It has a really good quality resolution as well, along with washers, if you want to, use the washers because the camera is dirty. So again, this is all pretty much what you expect from a luxury brand. You can also kind of do a perimeter scan around the vehicle, although it's not quite the same as what I've seen in other Audis before, but you can kind of just do that, which is pretty cool. Really interesting design to it, but the quality and the resolution is also very impressive. So that's all, really what you expect in today's modern vehicles. Now you can see there's a button here to access the camera. This is for your Audi driver assistance tech. You can kind of access it via a quick button right here. Push this little button down here. It's their drive mode selector. You can see Audi offers a choice between 5 different drive modes. It also will adjust the air suspension. You can also raise and lower it even further there. There's an efficiency, a comfort, a dynamic, and of course the individual mode. If I put it into dynamic, it'll actually will lower the vehicle as we're sitting in here, which is again showing a graphical representation of the car. That's all really cool as well. You can go into the settings here. This is where you can kind of adjust a couple of things. And again, if you go to your vehicle settings here, this is where you can actually adjust the interior ambient lighting. So if I go over here, you can see it allows you to choose between, it looks like pre-selected colors over here. It looks like 6 of them. You can also adjust it via the drive mode selector. You can also individually change it if you'd like, which is all pretty cool. And then if you go to the exterior lighting here, this is where you can adjust the light signatures. So as you can see, this is selected for number 2. This is the number 1 option for the light signature, which looks pretty standard stuff. There's 8 different signatures, although in other markets, Audi's OLED headlights basically will project symbols onto the road or in the actual headlights themselves. Sadly, that is not legal here in the US, but this is at least cool how it lets you choose a different light signature. So that's kind of a cool customization feature that is included if you guys go for the prestige trim. I actually prefer number 6, which I think has the classic Audi look to it. But let me know in the comment section below if that's something that you would mess with constantly. Now, over here on the passenger side, you're gonna also notice that this has an actual screen. This is a 10.9-inch display. There's an actual privacy filter that the driver can't see when the vehicle is moving. I can see I've actually loaded up YouTube here where you can watch your favorite YouTube channels, which is kind of cool. If you push that, you can actually load up different apps and sources. You can pull up GPS in here. You can also pull up your radio. You can send GPS functions into the main cluster. In fact, here in the main cluster, you can also do the same thing. So this screen is 14.5 inches and it has built-in Amazon Alexa in addition to Audi voice commands where you can say, you can ask Audi to do things for you. The YouTube function, as you can see, also populates right here as well. And this is really impressive. This screen size is finally, class competitive because most competitors have gone to like a 15 or 14-inch plus screen. So this is something that Audi needed. I'm just not entirely sure I love the shape of this. And of course, on this side here, it just looks a little bit plasticky. It's just a little bit too look at me. I've seen this before. It's a little too copycat-ish, but let me know in the comment section below what you think. The software behind it certainly is nice, but again, Audi has gotten rid of a lot of actual hard buttons. It's all been moved into the screen. Now, in terms of the materials, you can see it's an Audi, so you expect premium touches. You can see the upper portion does have a nicer leather or soft touch injection molded plastic with some faux stitching. This should have been on the door panel there, and it's not. There's also some real birch wood accents here, which look and feel and smell like real leather, so that's all very, very nice. The ambient lighting, as you can see, that reminds me of Volkswagen's IQ light technology that goes across the actual expansion of the dash. If I actually signal, you can see it actually shows you a left turn signal or a right turn signal on the other side. So that's all really cool tech nerdy stuff that takes a little bit of getting used to. There is real leather stitching on this lower portion here. There's the passenger screen. Again, that disappears if you guys go into the actual display and you're driving. It won't be visible to the driver. There's also a video game, it looks like, built into the car. Vector unit, so that's all kind of, oh, beach buggy racing too. I've seen that in some Tesla vehicles, so kind of cool to see it here in an Audi, which I imagine you can actually pull it up here on this screen as well. Yep, beach buggy racing, so you basically have to pick either side that you want. So again, that's all really cool. I imagine you can probably use the steering wheel to play with that. That's a great feature to do or to utilize if you guys are sitting there charging. Looking at the rest of the center stack, you can see nice sized cup holders here. There's a nice padded center console, which does offer a little bit of adjustability with this. You can basically just adjust the height of it, just not forward and back. There's additional storage in here, which is nice. The seats, like I said, premium Napa leather. The headrests, they don't adjust. Looks like they adjust, but I can't get it to adjust. The leather itself feels really nice. You also have that thigh extender over here. The glove compartment you can see is damped. It's huge. It goes into the dash. It's lined with felt, so that's all very impressive stuff. You have an auto-dimming rearview mirror here. No digital camera rearview mirror. The Germans tend to shy away from that. You have LED map lighting in the cabin, which is nice. There's a woven material here along with this big panoramic sunroof, which, like I said, actually does open up to vent air. That's something that a lot of the competitors don't give you, so it's nice that Audi also includes that. So overall, as you can see, the interior definitely looks very modern, very contemporary. It's got that big wall of screens, although Audi did go backwards in the sense that there aren't as many traditional actual hard buttons. There's a little bit too much screen overload. I don't love how there's a little bit of cheapness in the interior, and I don't love the shape of these screens. I actually think this little like canard here, this wing, is unnecessary. I would have just preferred it to be a squared off rectangle, but at least it finally has some updated software, and it also looks a lot more modern and impressive. And the interior ambient lighting in here I think is also very tasteful. It's not overdone like what you might find in some of its German competitors. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area and show you guys what that space is like. Now this is a compact slash mid-size SUV, and in terms of the rear seat legroom, Audi says you have around 37.4 inches back here. 37.4 is pretty comparable to the outgoing Q5, perhaps even 0.6 inches less in terms of rear legroom. The seats, like I said earlier, they do fold down in a 60-40 arrangement. Sadly, they don't offer a recline and they don't slide forward and back, which is a little bit disappointing. Door panel materials are the same as the front seat area. You can see the warm weather package includes this retractable shade, which is nice. You have more leather here, more of that ambient lighting, which is nice. The window controls are one touch for all four, hard touch plastic down here. And then when you get back here, you can see in terms of the space, this is not where I'd have the seat to drive. This seat actually moved all the way back. This is closer to my driving position. So in this mode, it's a little bit hard to get back here and cross my legs, but you do have good foot space. There is a almost flat floor down here, which is nice. You have your own set of climate controls back here. It's triple zone along with your heated seats back here and your rear seat air vents, which is nice. There is, again, an armrest here that folds down and gives you 2 cup holders. And then in terms of the headroom space, you can see there's actually a ton of headroom here. I have a solid maybe 3 more inches of additional clearance, even though there's a panoramic sunroof eating into your space. So overall, the backseat area is definitely very usable. It's comparable with a lot of its competitors, and it does have a little bit more space if you guys are coming from a gas-powered Q5. All right, so here we are finally behind the wheel of an all-new Audi product. As you guys know, Audi in general has been kind of struggling with giving us some new products. I mean, yes, their products are still relatively competitive, but compared to a lot of the newer European, Japanese, and American rivals, especially in the EV space, Audi is definitely starting to fall behind. So this new Q6 e-tron is the first Audi vehicle to be built on their new PPE, the Premium Platform Electric Architecture. It shares this platform with the Porsche Macan EV. I had a chance to briefly drive a Macan EV back in October of last year. Didn't get a chance to actually film it. I'm hoping I'll be able to do that for you guys sometime later this year. But this model that we're driving is the Q6 e-tron Quattro, which means its powertrain performance kind of splits the difference. It's in between a Macan 4 electric EV and a Macan 4S electric EV. In launch control mode, this vehicle makes up to 456 horsepower. 422 is available most of the time. Audi claims 0 to 60 is 4.9 seconds. We are starting out with a 99% state of charge. It showed 268 miles of range on a full charge when it was fully charged. But let's go ahead and test out the 0 to 60. To get that, you basically have to have it in dynamic. You turn off the stability control, you brake torque it, it says launch control. Ooh. Ooh, that's fast, yep. Okay, 0 to 60 in 4.39 seconds, so 4.4 seconds. That's about a half a second faster versus Audi's claim. That doesn't surprise me whatsoever. The Germans are always typically conservative. What is alarming, however, is the fact that the SQ6 e-tron, the higher performance version of this, which roughly has around 56 more horsepower, Audi claims 4.1 seconds for that, which tells or lets me believe that the closer time or the actual time for that model is probably in the 3.5 second range. Remember, Porsche claims the Macan 4 electric will take roughly 4.9 seconds and roughly 3.9 seconds for the Macan 4S electric. So this kind of performance is definitely very impressive. But again, most EVs are fast. So this thing being quick isn't really anything all that new. But let's try another run here. This time we won't launch control it. We'll just floor it. Ooh. Puts you right back in the seat. 4.78 seconds there. So that time is closer to what Audi claims. Remember, the launch control function basically increases the power from 422 to 456. That is plenty of power. This vehicle should be fast enough for most. Remember, if you guys don't go for the Quattro model that adds that electric motor at the front, it's a rear-wheel drive vehicle. Audi claims 6.3 seconds for the rear drive model, which I would estimate is probably under 6 seconds if I ever get one to test in real-world testing. But regardless, excellent performance. It's about on par with the last Cadillac Lyriq, the Acura ZDX Type S, of course, the Genesis GV70. I haven't had a chance to drive the newest version of the Model Y. A Lexus RZ should be also pretty similar in terms of performance. This thing is wonderful. I mean, it's an EV, so you've got instantaneous thrust. It's quiet in here. It's, basically as soon as my foot goes to the floor, it just gives you all the power. It just puts you right back in the edge of your seat, which is fantastic. So yeah, I mean, do you need to go for the SQ6? Not really, but it is nice how Audi offers those different levels. The SQ6 is pretty much has performance on par with the Macan 4S electric. So hoping again I can get a Macan to test for you guys at some point. Now, I've been driving the car in dynamic mode, and I have to say it is definitely very much tuned for comfort. The steering is light, numb, and devoid of feel, very typical Audi. The suspension is soft, but the vehicle at least changes directions quickly, and it gives you the confidence to make abrupt maneuvers, but it definitely doesn't feel like this thing is trying to be like a sporty SUV per se, not like the Porsche version of this car. Put your foot down here. It is a primarily rear drive biased, or at least it feels like the electric motor in the back is more powerful than the electric motor in the front. It doesn't have enough power to let the back step out or anything like that, but it feels really well balanced. This is a heavy vehicle at over 5,300 pounds, but it hides its weight pretty nicely. Remember, this is the first Audi built on their new PPE architecture. I like the feel. It definitely feels pretty nice in this chassis. It just feels a little bit too softly sprung from an enthusiast perspective. Let's try another run here with the launch control. Oof. Yes, 4.35 seconds there, so even better, and that's with it again on level surface, so it roughly shaves around 0.4 seconds off the 0 to 60 time when you engage the launch control. So it's kind of worth it to just turn off the stability control with the button right here, just basically put it into its sport mode and then brake torque it. It's going to make a big difference, or slight difference at least, to the 0 to 60 performance. Turning radius there is actually not too shabby. No four-wheel steering in this car, no rear-wheel steering like you can get in the Macan. The Macan offers rear-wheel steering, but this car does have the adaptive air suspension that's included with the Prestige trim. And even again, in dynamic mode, the ride is very comfortable and supportive. It just kind of floats over the imperfections on the road. It floats over the road, and it feels like it's a great commuter car, great for long-distance driving. The steering wheel, I don't love the design of the steering wheel. It feels like it has a really thin rim. Again, I would love to try out the SQ6 e-tron because it probably has a different steering wheel. The seats also are comfortable and supportive. The premium leather feels to me a little more like vinyl, but at least the padding is right. It has decent lateral bolstering to kind of keep you in place, but again, I'm assuming the SQ6 is going to feel even more, sharper. It's going to have seats that hug you a little bit more. Visibility out of this vehicle is also pretty good. It's got a good view out of the front. The side, the A-pillar here is on the thinner side. The view out of the back is also it's not blocked by anything. Again, this car kind of has like a jelly bean shape to it. It doesn't have the typical, hard lines, the blockiness of an Audi. It looks a little bit more bulbous, which I don't love the styling of this car, but it's there for aerodynamics with its 0.33 coefficient of drag. And this car also comes with the latest in terms of Audi driver assistance tech. It has this really cool augmented reality head-up display, which I don't even know the size of that, but it basically expands up to like half of the windshield there. It even shows you your lines when you cross it. Audi's traffic jam assist, their adaptive cruise, lane keep assist, all of that works even better versus the Audis that I've tested previously on their older generation. So it's nice to see Audi has improved that. Plus this brand new infotainment system looks amazing with the triple screens. You get that passenger display, of course, if you guys go for the Prestige package. I love how this is a 14.5-inch display. It's finally the right size. It's a touchscreen. I just don't love the way it looks. Like, it just looks like every other display that you're gonna find so many other modern cars, but at least the software behind it has been updated. It has, Audi's built-in native system with Google built in, but it also has wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. So all the usual, information and tech software is here, so that's fantastic. Now, not a single squeak and rattle in the interior, and it also is very quiet in here. And then in terms of the range, I mentioned earlier, 295 miles of range is what the EPA is rated. The most that the car was showing was 268 on a full charge in my week's worth of testing, in temperatures that have actually been rather pleasant. Between 40 to 55 degrees, I actually averaged around 265 miles of range on a full charge. So that's pretty good. It's still kind of below what the EPA says at 295. I was driving primarily in highway driving, so maybe in the city it'll probably do better than that. That range figure is perfectly acceptable, although again, it's not quite best in class. I got a little bit more, I believe, in the Cadillac Lyriq, which technically I think had a slightly larger battery pack. But, you know, compared to some of its rivals like the EQE SUV, I much prefer this. The Lexus RZ isn't even in the same ballpark, although we hear that there's rumors of a fully revised version coming next year. The Acura ZDX and the Cadillac Lyriq also are a really strong competitive set, although those vehicles are technically larger a little bit. But overall, this platform certainly shows a lot of promise. It's one of the quickest charging EVs in the segment. I think the Q6 e-tron is the right size. It's again about the size of a Q5, just fully electric. I think the ride quality is good. I think it's comfortable. I think it's fast enough. The problem with this car for me is it just lacks a soul. It feels very bland. It feels very like just kind of seamless, but also just forgettable. And that's kind of my issue with this vehicle as an enthusiast. But from a driving perspective, if you're just looking for a comfortable luxury SUV and you love Audi, you love the technology aspect, this is certainly worth a look. But until I get a hold of an SQ6 and I review a new Macan 4S for you, or Macan Turbo, I'll have to reserve judgment from an enthusiast perspective. But overall, this is definitely a step in the right direction for Audi as a brand in terms of electrification. I just want something with a little bit more soul from behind the wheel. So after spending a full week with the next generation of Audi products, this Q6 e-tron, I have to say, the company really did pull out all the stops here to finally bring themselves into a more competitive space, especially when there's a lot of new competition out there. Obviously, they first started out relatively strong with the e-tron, which eventually became the Q8 e-tron in the SUV and Sportback configuration. The Q4 e-tron has always been a little bit disappointing because it's essentially just a guzzied up version of a Volkswagen ID4. The e-tron GT has always been an awesome vehicle because, again, it is basically a Porsche Taycan. That vehicle also got some pretty substantial updates for 2025. I'm hoping I'll be able to test that sometime later this year. But this model here is designed to essentially be the sweet spot, the right-sized, compact slash mid-size electric SUV or SUV that just happens to be electric. Audi, again, tries to make this vehicle more a luxury vehicle first, an electric vehicle second. Although I have to say, being built off of their new PPE architecture, it really shows off a strong showing because Audi essentially is going to be going off of one modular platform. So there's PPE, which is premium platform electric, and then of course PPC, which is premium platform combustion. The company basically said that is going to be the last brand new internal combustion platform they're going to develop. And it's kind of cool how they split it off to be either electric or internal combustion based, of course, on the demand. But what I really like about this Q6 e-tron is the size. I think it's the right size vehicle. It's a really comfortable and a luxurious car. As you guys saw, it's got a really great ride quality. The handling is competent, sure-footed, but certainly not sporty. I'll have to wait until I drive an SQ6 e-tron to kind of see if this kind of scratches my enthusiast itch. In terms of acceleration, the Quattro model is definitely the way to go because this vehicle here with nearly 500 horsepower is able to accelerate to 60 in around 4.3 seconds. So it's fast, and so are a lot of other competing vehicles in the class. It's just a little bit numb. It's a little bit anonymous. Just like the exterior styling, the drive is kind of anonymous and boring. But hey, if you're just looking for a comfortable SUV that's luxurious, that happens to be electric, this is where the Q6 e-tron is going to appeal to you. In terms of range, as you guys saw in my week's worth of testing, I was averaging around 260 to 270-ish miles of real-world range. That is a little bit down versus the 295 that the EPA quotes, but it has been a little bit cold outside. We are still kind of in the middle of winter here in South Central PA, so it's going to, of course, lower the range. Charging for this vehicle is it's quick. It's not relatively quick, it's among the quickest you're gonna find, around 20-ish minutes to go from 10 to 80%, or most of you are gonna charge at home, and I was finding that this vehicle is taking roughly 12 to 14 hours on my home charger to charge this vehicle from empty to full, and that's again, kind of the benefits of an EV is being able to fast charge at home. The tech in this vehicle, the interface and the software is a big improvement. I still don't love how Audi has gotten rid of some of the hard buttons, but The virtual cockpit for the instrument panel, I also don't like how they've kind of downgraded there and they don't offer as much of the customization. But once you kind of get used to the new software, it does feel and look impressive. The interior quality, while it isn't quite as premium as I expected, at least the build quality is there. There wasn't a single squeak and rattle in this interior. The seats are also comfortable and supportive. The back seat is certainly usable. And overall, I think that while the styling of this car looks like a blob, I also think that it's probably going to age well. Audis in general tend to do that, although I'm looking forward to getting my hands on the Q5, which has been redesigned, the A5, which has also been redesigned, and then of course, if you guys prefer this as a sedan, there's the upcoming A6 e-tron, which they're also introducing an S6 e-tron, so it's kind of nice how Audi's kind of giving you that choice. But if you guys can't wait for those other new models that I mentioned, the Q6 e-tron has been on sale since the end of last year. In fact, Audi says they managed to sell a little under 1,000 units in the US in America in 2024. So not great, but again, it was only on sale for just like a month or two last year. And base pricing for this vehicle starts at around $63,800 for a Q6 e-tron with the single motor rear wheel drive. If you guys want all-wheel drive, it'll cost you around $2,000 extra, so around 66 grand. That's kind of a no-brainer option if you guys want all-wheel drive. It's only 2 grand more. The SQ6 e-tron is roughly around $7,000 on top of the all-wheel drive version, so around 75 grand. My test car here, of course, with the Prestige option package, the upgraded 20-inch wheels, and the destination charge and the color upcharge checks in at around $76,000. So 76 grand kind of puts it right in line with a lot of its competitors. Think Mercedes EQE SUV. You've also got Genesis GV70, Lexus RZ, Cadillac Lyriq, Acura ZDX. There's a lot of choices out there in the segment. So Audi essentially needed a vehicle like this. I'm just not entirely sure it's enough to sway people from the best-selling vehicle, which is the Tesla Model Y, which also should be getting a big refresh later this year. Some would argue that Tesla isn't necessarily a luxury brand. They are a software company that builds premium vehicles, but this vehicle in general, what I've noticed, it tries to be an luxury SUV first, an electric vehicle second, but unlike the e-tron SUV or the Q8 e-tron, which made a lot of sacrifices for it being a luxury vehicle first and an EV second, there are very little sacrifices with this vehicle as an EV, as it delivers class competitive range, above class competitiveness for charging speed, and it's also wrapped in that typical Audi package here that really favors heavily on technology. Well, with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my very detailed overview on the brand new 2025 Audi Q6 e-tron. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.